Hey y'all, welcome to the Quimby Chronicles, where real life gets real honest. I'm your host Traci, mama, storyteller, truth teller, and woman learning out loud. Every week we peel back the layers of motherhood, womanhood, healing, and everything in between. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's heavy, but it's always from the heart. On today's episode, we talk about healing out loud. This is a real talk episode about what it is and why we need it. Because healing ain't always pretty, but it's very powerful. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Quimby Chronicles. And today's episode is called Healing Out Loud. This one's personal, this one's raw. And because healing isn't always quiet, cute, or curated, sometimes it's ugly crying in the shower. Sometimes it's finding your voice after years of silence. And sometimes it's a podcast episode where you say that thing that you've been holding in. So go ahead, grab your tea, grab your journal, or just take a deep breath because we're definitely going there today. So let's start with this. What does it mean to heal out loud? Like, what does that even mean? You know, people say it all the time. Like, yeah, I'm gonna heal out loud. I'm gonna heal. What does it mean? Well, to me, healing out loud means choosing vulnerability over silence. It means making space for my voice in a world that's tried to shut it down. And it means sharing my story, not for attention, but for connection. Because I truly, truly, truly believe that there's a power in saying I went through it and I'm still here. I went through whatever it is, but I'm still here. So healing out loud is about refusing to hide the hard parts because a lot of us, we stuff down those hard parts and we take the lessons that we've learned, but we don't take the time to honor the fight that it took to get us here. So healing out loud is about refusing to hide those parts, those hard parts. We don't owe anyone a polished version of our pain, and the process is the point. And a lot of times I think we forget to honor the process, okay? Now, speaking specifically to my sisters, Black women, we are taught to be strong. We're taught to hold it down. We're taught to push through. But that silence doesn't equal strength. It ends up equaling suffering. It ends up being trauma. And we carry that trauma in our bodies and our bones. We even carry it in our DNA. And so many of us are healing privately because we've been told it's shameful to speak. But here's the truth. I believe you can't heal what you hide. And, myself growing up in a Caribbean household, what? No. Okay. You better hold all that stuff in. Well, and I mean, not that it was said, but that was just at the time, dealing with mental health and stuff like that. It just wasn't a thing, So now as an adult, I've realized that when we heal out loud, we give other Black women permission to do the same. When we heal out loud, we're saying, you're not alone in this. We're in this with you. For me, something that took me a while to heal from was my second divorce. My second divorce was one of the most traumatic things that I've endured as an adult. Um, my second husband was the greatest. The way things happened, of course, it wasn't conventional, but as time went on, we grew and we struggled and we fought, but we fought together. We fought for each other. We fought with each other. We fought for the marriage. We fought for the family. We were supportive of each other. He was truly my best friend. He was my best friend in the world. But sometimes people make choices. And like I tell my 7-year-old, choices come with consequences. Every choice has a consequence. So there came a point where he made some choices that the consequences not only affected him, it affected me, and it affected our children. It affected the entire family. So that's something that I had to heal from because for a long time I was like, Why did this happen? Why did he do this? Why did he choose to do that? Was I not doing everything I was supposed to do? Did I do something wrong? Just all these questions as to how I could have prevented it. Should I not have gone to work that night? Should I have been asking more questions? I mean, there was just a litany of things that went through my mind for a long time about the demise of this marriage. But, I got into therapy and I got to a point where I was just like, you know what? He was an adult. He made a choice, and that choice had nothing to do with me. It's not like he consulted me about the choice. So that choice had nothing to do with me. So I had to learn to just let that go. Now, was it painful? Yes. Was I depressed? Yes. Was I broken? Yes. There were times where I had to be the shield. I had to shield my children. So there were times where I'm dropping my kids off at school, and I remember one morning vividly, I was on my way to work because at the time I was already a nurse. I had to be to work at 7 o'clock. So my kids, on the days I worked, they went to the daycare from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. is what time, they had to go in order for me to work my 12-hour shift. So I vividly remember one morning, and it was just such a struggle. My son did not want to get up out of bed. He was cranky when I tried to give him breakfast. I got him in the car and I'm like, look, we gotta go. I gotta go to work. That little boy looked me in my face and said to me, I hate you. I want to go live with my dad. And when I tell you that that broke me to my core, and even now thinking about it, I still get a little emotional because at that point in time, even though I was broken, I couldn't let my kids know. I had to make everything as normal as possible for them. So while I'm hurting inside, I'm putting on this brave face for them. And then he says this to me. So I didn't say a word. I buckled him in his car seat. I got in the car, dropped the kids off at daycare. And it probably took me like 30-ish minutes to get to work. And when I tell y'all that I cried the entire 30 minutes to work because I felt so bad. I felt horrible. Even though my head knew that it wasn't my fault, my heart was breaking. It was broken for me. It was broken for my kids. My heart was just broken, and I felt like my life was in shambles. And at that point, what I had going on mattered, but what mattered more so is making sure that my kids were okay. It took a long time for me to realize that I needed to heal from this. Back then, social media, I don't even know if social media was a thing back then, but even if it was, it wasn't as rampant as it is now. And there weren't these posts like, I could only imagine now where the posts are like, you got this girl, you strong, his loss, and all those things are fine. But what about the hurt? What about the grieving for that relationship and the grieving for the family that I thought was going to be mine? What about grieving my happily ever after? Because that's basically what it was. It was the death of my happily ever after. I mean, and I started rethinking and I'm like, oh my gosh, we went to premarital counseling. We went to church together on a regular basis. We had meaningful conversations about stuff. I mean, there were so many, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought we did everything right. And still, here I am, heartbroken, separated, single mom of 3 kids, so I had to heal. I had to heal. So when the time came for me to heal, the time came for me to go to therapy and to really address all these things, the fear. There was a fear. I had a fear of being judged because people love to be like, oh, well, how could you not know? And how did you miss the signs? And my thing always has been, like I tell people all the time, no one sits around and looks for reasons for your spouse or your significant other to be in a bad situation or to accuse them of something. Well, I won't say no one, because some people probably do, but not everyone does that. And I'm one of those people who didn't do that. For me, I've always been face value. If I see it, then okay, I'm not going to go looking for it. And so the fear of being judged was almost paralyzing. I'm in therapy and I want to get help, but you don't want to tell the parts that are going to make you look less than perfect. So with that fear, then came a resistance to telling the whole truth. And I told some of the truth, but I would hold back in the beginning. Because I'm like, do I really trust this lady? Is she judging me? So that fear came with resistance. Then after the resistance, finally, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I don't care how this made me looks. I want to get better. I want to do better. I want to heal. So here's the truth. And boom, I laid it all out on the table. And when I laid it all out on the table, yes, I cried. I ugly cried. I definitely ugly cried. Because like I said, this was a chapter of my life that went, for lack of a better expression, it went from sugar to shit in no time at all. It was like here I had this wonderful supportive man that was my husband. He was a great father. He was just, for me, he was everything. He was everything. To the kids, he was everything. And then this bombshell, this blow. So the tears came. I also released a lot of that weight that I had been carrying, that I didn't even realize that I had been carrying it. Okay. I was carrying so much weight on my shoulders, the weight of this entire thing. I'm carrying it on my shoulders. And literally, I was an innocent bystander. But still, as a mom, as a wife, I internalized that stuff, where his family was upset at me for what happened, which I was like, how are you upset at me? I was literally minding my business. I was at work. Like, what are you talking about? So it was a lot. It was a lot. So then the family dynamics changed drastically. So now my kids no longer are in a two-parent household. My in-laws are upset with me. My parents, my family is upset with him. And my kids are in the middle of it and confused and don't know what's going on and want to know why we're not seeing daddy every day. And of course, and then they're lashing out at me because I'm there. I'm the one. So once I was able to tell the whole truth and release all of that, oh my gosh, I felt so much better. Not saying I wasn't sad anymore or that it didn't affect me anymore, but I just felt so much better. Oh my gosh, I felt so much better once I released that, and I really started taking the steps to heal from that devastating blow of what was to be my divorce. So to be clear, healing out loud is very liberating, but unfortunately, it's not always safe because not everyone's going to understand and not everyone is going to clap for your growth. And you have to realize also that sometimes telling your truth will make people uncomfortable because just like I was uncomfortable when I first started therapy, I was uncomfortable with telling the parts of me, being vulnerable and showing those less than perfect parts of me. My truth is going to make people uncomfortable because it's going to show the less than perfect parts of them, but that discomfort, it wasn't my burden to carry because I'm not responsible for anybody else's feelings about my story because it's my story. So however people feel about my story, they're just going to have to deal with that. And I mean, we can talk about it, we can address it, but I don't know what to tell you. That's my story. That's the way I saw things. That's the way things affected me. Now, of course, if I'm walking around here giving intimate details of somebody's life, that's a whole nother something. But I'm telling my story. So me, I wanted to heal out loud. So once I started healing out loud, I found a community. I found clarity. I definitely gained some courage. And with that release, when I just let everything out, I definitely found me some freedom. It was wonderful. I think the freedom was the greatest part. The courage, I always knew I had it. It's just a matter of tapping into it and being brave enough to summon that courage. All right. So for those of you who want to begin healing out loud and have no idea how, let's get practical. So if you're wondering about it, here's where you can start. The first place you can start is to find your circle. So sit and think, who are the safe people who will hold space for your truth? For me, I'm lucky enough to have two friends plus my sister. So three friends, if you count, my sister, that will hold space for my truth and listen and let me vent. Number two, you can try starting private. Try journaling. I always tell y'all about the journal app I have, day one. You could try leaving voice notes. You could try art. So I like coloring sometimes. I mean, any way that you can use to express your pain safely. Number three is practice saying it, because saying I'm not okay is not enough sometimes. Sometimes you have to say the words out loud. And number four, you have to choose your platform. If social media feels right, share. If it doesn't, then don't. But you have to do what feels best for you. You don't owe the world every detail, but you do owe yourself honesty. So let's be real. What would happen if you told your truth today? If this episode hit you somewhere deep, I'd love for you to share it, text it to a friend, post a clip of it, tag me, email me, DM me, because what I'm trying to build is a village of brave, bold mamas who refuse to suffer in silence, because we have suffered in silence for too long. Go ahead and say it out loud, okay? This is the Quimby Chronicles, and this is Healing Out Loud. I'll see you next week. That's it for this chapter of the Quimby Chronicles. Keep growing, keep glowing. I'll catch you next time.